After learning that R2-D2 has taken off, Luke and C-3PO go after him, quickly picking him up on the speeder's sensors. And as I began studying the score for this scene in the movie, I very quickly came to a surprise. See, we're used to this version of the movie where Luke and 3PO speed across the desert with just the sound of the speeder in the scene. But when we look at the original manuscript, we can see that Williams actually scored music for this shot as well, originally titling it appropriately The Sand Speeder, before changing the title later to The Land of the Sand People, which is what we know this music by now. But this isn't the only indication of missing music. If we listen to the soundtrack, we also hear this music, albeit in an even further extended form than what I was able to transcribe since I was missing several pages. This likely means that the removal of this music for the speeder was a last-moment decision on the part of Lucas. But because there is so much music before the Sand People, it also indicates that this speeder shot used to be longer. And what we also lost from this scene is another variation of Luke's theme for him as a character, while we continue to get used to associating his theme with this character. Williams leans heavily on the horns and strings, trading off these half-step parts at the beginning of the score to create a sense of tension and angst. And I was originally expecting this to be some sort of octatonic scale, but when we organize the notes in ascending order, we don't really get any kind of clear scale, whether we include the A-flat in the bass or not. After the first cycle of this, Williams speeds up the trade-offs from every 2 beats to every beat, with the timbre of the horns also changing from open to muted each time. Then, Luke's theme interrupts the texture to remind us of our hero before the sand speeder motif continues in the horns again. Now, from there, we find ourselves at the beginning of the track that we're actually familiar with as the trumpets and trombones enter, with the familiar ascending minor sixth, an interval Williams commonly uses for evil and danger throughout the entire Skywalker saga. This time, it leads us into a twisted fanfare before giving way to the sound of the Tusken Raiders, or Sand People. And this is where the percussion have a chance to shine. Williams asks for tuned drums in the score. Likely, this is referring to different high toms, judging by the sound being tuned to specific pitches. Additionally, Williams asks for the drums to be struck by claves. Now, I'm not a percussionist, but this would seem problematic to me and likely could result in the claves puncturing the tom heads. So maybe something else was actually going on here, but I'd love to hear from a percussionist here on their interpretation of this. In either case, it's clear that Williams wanted something that felt primitive and brutal. The brass attack almost out of nowhere, which is going to be a recurring concept for a lot of this, with different ideas, while the strings performing glissandi and strikes with a wood of their bows in a technique that's known as collegno, or more accurately collegno buttato, throwing us off balance. And this is similar to one of many tactics that composer Igor Stravinsky uses in his Rite of Spring, which I've highlighted before as being a very strong influence on the Star Wars score, since it was originally the temp music and almost a large part of the original score for Star Wars. Notice how Stravinsky and Williams both shift incredibly quickly between different timbral attacks, keeping us on our toes and full of energy. One of the key elements to the design of this section is that it's written in a way where there is no discernible beat or patterns that repeat long enough for us to grab onto them. And so we're left just experiencing this as chaos instead of discernible music, which is exactly what Williams was after. As we return to Luke and 3PO, now having found R2-D2, the music momentarily settles. But as they realize that the Sand People are there, the music re-engages, striking a warning of the danger to come. As Luke spies on the group, the piccolo plays a light melody over top, a polyphonic texture created by the harp and celeste. This combination of instruments is designed in this moment to make us feel at ease and lower our senses like Luke is here, while also creating a drastic contrast that came right before and right after it. And I don't know about anyone else, but something about this actually reminds me a bit of the Jawa music as well. This allows for the next moment as one of the Tusken Raiders pops up right in front of Luke to catch us off guard, the music suddenly picking up again. And notice the upward glissandi as well as the Tusken Raider ascends in front of him. This time, Williams creates quick shifts in the meter, moving back and forth from 4/4 to 3/8. This not only changes the number of beats, but the beat itself as well, since the regular quarter note beat can't fit evenly into a 3/8 measure, again making us feel off-balanced. Attacks come from all over, just like the attacks against Luke. Williams writes violent in the score several times to encourage this feeling, as the slapstick, a traditionally comedically violent instrument and the origin of the term slapstick comedy, engages with the attacks, just like it would have traditionally been employed to do. The attacks continue until the camera shifts to still scenery and the music calms with it. Now into a mysterious chord. This chord, while still, is uncomfortable. The E sharp clashes with the F sharp. The A clashes with the nearby G sharp and B flat. Williams then glisses everybody up an entire octave, adding more strain to the sound as well. To add motion again, the stopped horns enter with repeated attacks. As they continue, they encourage the strings to begin smeary glissandi like some sort of twisted horror movie as we see Luke's unconscious body being dragged along. But because of the steady attacks of the horns and the responding drums here, this is another section that reminds me of parts of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, like this section. The bassoons relax the mood briefly before the next big surprise as we hear the shriek of a crate dragon, and the orchestra explodes with suspense, even though we don't exactly know what this is yet. The repeating chord motion downward between D minor and C sharp minor creates an air of mystery. This continues until Obi-Wan Kenobi looks up, an enchanting bell tree and harp announcing something magical but safe about this character. The strings tremolo, like a shaking of fear, reflecting R2-D2's hesitation. The bass actually shifts down a half step as well, giving a further sense of unease. But then the woodwinds and horn enter with that now familiar theme that we attribute to the Force, but that we now know was originally attributed to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Williams continues to add some shifting in the bass to keep us uneasy as we're still not fully sure what to think of this. But the music fades then as Luke recognizes Ben Kenobi and feels safe. One of the reasons that I really like this scene is that it further identifies Luke's theme, even if it didn't make it into the final cut, and Obi-Wan's theme, which we now know as the Force theme, but that people also commonly and wrongly attributed to Luke, finds its way to meeting its actual character. I mean, look, the theme plays here for Ben Kenobi talking to R2-D2, and Luke is completely passed out. This is not a theme for Luke Skywalker and was never intended to be. But I also love this track because of how creative Williams got with the different percussion instruments and meters shifting as he continued to pay tribute to Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. It's a complex and intense scene because of that. But I'm also curious what all of you think. Did you know that there was music from this that never made it into the final cut as we see Luke's speeder, including another rendition of Luke's theme? Did you know that this scene's music was also based off of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring? This tends to be a scene that gets under noticed, but it shouldn't, considering all of the work that went into scoring it. Tell me in the comments below what you think, and consider checking out my Patreon page using the link in the description, where you can help support this channel for as little as $1 a month, or download PDFs and MP3s of projects, including my transcriptions of the original John Williams scores for these films as I complete them, along with other perks at higher tiers. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to learn more about the music of a galaxy far, far away, and as always, may the be with you.